Welcome back. So what if I told you that a 7,000-year-old text written in ancient Sanskrit wasn't just a collection of wisdom, but a logical framework, a system so precise that you could translate it, verse for verse, into a modern programming language? Well, today, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're taking a journey from dusty palm leaf manuscripts all the way to modern Python scripts to see how an ancient system of cosmic logic is being reborn as executable code. It's going to be a wild ride.
Our journey really has to start with this quote, this powerful statement from the source itself, the Brihat Parashara Hora Shastra. Now listen to the language here. This isn't just some vague collection of prophecies. It's a declaration of intent. It's a mission statement. The goal is to build a system, a form of knowledge so powerful that its user could, as the text claims, literally become a knower of time. Right from the get-go, it sets the stage for a system built not on blind belief, but on a specific, learnable, and repeatable science of calculation.
All right, so here's our roadmap for this explainer. First, we're going to unpack the sheer scale of this ancient cosmic code. Then, we get to the absolute core of our investigation, how these ancient Sanskrit verses function just like modern algorithms. From there, we'll follow the incredible translation from palm leaf to Python, see how this code is being used to debug human history, and finally, we'll just stand back and ask, what does it even mean to have this ancient oracle running on a modern machine?
Okay, let's dive in. To really get this, we have to start by wrapping our heads around the scale and the nature of this cosmic code. It's so important to understand that the Brihat Parashara Hora Shastra, or the BPHS as we'll call it, is not just a mystical text. Not at all. It is a highly structured, deeply mathematical treatise. It presents itself as a complete, self-contained system of logic for calculating and interpreting the patterns of life based on celestial mechanics.
And to really grasp the significance of this, we have to talk about time. I mean, deep time. This text is attributed to Maharishi Parashara, a sage whose life is placed right in the middle of the Mahabharata era. We're talking around 7,000 years ago. And look, this isn't just folklore or a guess. The source text itself contains specific astronomical references and even mentions the horoscope of historical figures like Dharma Raja Yudhishthira in the present tense. It's anchoring itself in an almost unfathomably deep past. It's just staggering.
And we're not talking about a short pamphlet of wisdom here. The BPHS is a colossal work. Just the first of its two major sections, the Purvakanda, runs for over 80 chapters. Think about that. It's a dense, encyclopedic framework of rules, exceptions to those rules, and complex calculations, all designed to work together as one cohesive, logical unit. The sheer volume of information is it's breathtaking.
Okay, so this is where things get really wild. This is where ancient philosophy becomes modern computation. We're about to see how these Sanskrit verses, the shlokas, are not just poetry. They are, for all intents and purposes, lines of code. You see, the highly structured, almost mathematical grammar of classical Sanskrit makes it uniquely suited for this, allowing for incredibly complex logical conditions to be expressed with an almost algebraic precision.
And this slide just laid it out perfectly. On the left, you've got a concept straight from a verse in the BPHS. It's laying out a very specific rule. It says, if the lord of the second house is in a cardinal house, what's known as a kendra, a position of strength, and the lord of the 11th house is in a trine, a house of fortune, then the result is gain of wealth. Now look at the right. You see that exact same logic expressed in pseudocode. It's a classic conditional statement. If this is true and this other thing is true, then you get this result. This is the absolute fundamental building block of all computer programming, and it's spelled out right there in ancient Sanskrit.
So, if these verses really are algorithms, the next logical question is, can you run them? Like, can you actually execute this ancient code? This is where the ancient world just collides with the modern world, where all this theory becomes practice. We're talking about translating these thousands of years old instructions into a living, breathing program.
And this right here, this isn't an analogy. This is the bridge itself. We are looking at a screenshot from actual Python source code. A developer has left a comment, a note for other programmers, and it explicitly references BPHS verse 4.6. The programmer is directly linking a specific line of modern code to a specific verse in the ancient text. The connection could not possibly be more direct.
And here it is. Here is the undeniable proof, side by side. On the left, you've got the original Sanskrit from verse 4.6. It states that two calculated points in a chart,
the Logna or the Ascendant, and the Pranapada, another key point, they have to have equal degrees for a birth time to be valid. It's a rule. And on the right, you see the Python code that enforces that exact ancient rule. The code checks if the condition is met, and if it's not, it assigns a rejection reason that literally says, fails BPHS 4.6 parekyata. I mean, get this. This is a 7,000-year-old if-then statement executing on a 21st century computer. It is just absolutely astonishing.
So we have this ancient logic, and it's running as a modern program. What can we actually do with it? Well, one of its most complex applications is a process called birth time rectification, or BTR. And you should think of it as a computational problem so intricate, it's literally like debugging the source code of a person's life.
Okay, so what is BTR? Well, it tackles a really common problem. Most of us don't know our birth time, down to the exact second. But according to this ancient system, that level of precision is absolutely critical. So BTR is the process of finding it. It takes a person's major known life events, things like getting married, having a child, a big career change, and it uses them as fixed data points, as known outputs. It then works backward, calculating thousands upon thousands of possibilities to find the one single precise birth time that would have predicted those exact events.
The best way to think about this is literally like debugging a computer program. In coding, if you know the output of your program is wrong, you trace back through potentially millions of lines of code to find the one faulty input that caused the error. Well, here, the known life events, your marriage, your kids, they're the correct output. The system then searches through thousands of potential moments in time, performing millions of calculations a second to find the one correct input, the exact birth time, that produces that correct output according to the logic of the BPHS.
And the process itself is pure computation. It's beautiful. Step 1. You feed the system an approximate time of birth, say between 2 and 2:30 p.m., along with the dates of your major life events. Step 2, the Python script then just goes to work, iterating through every possible second within that 30-minute window. And for each and every second, it generates a full set of life predictions based on those ancient BPHS rules. Step 3, it compares these predicted timelines against the actual events you provided. And finally, Step 4, the birth time that generates the timeline with the highest match, the highest correlation, is identified as the correct, rectified time.
Now, as the program is crunching through these thousands of timestamps, it's constantly running these validation checks based on the ancient text. And this is where one of the most startling details comes out. Here's another line from the source code. If a potential birth time fails a very specific geometric test from the text, the system rejects it with this reason: non-human per BPHS 4.10-4-111, and it even classifies it, in this case, as Pashu, which means animal. The system isn't just checking for math errors, it's running this fundamental purity test based on ancient cosmic geometry.
This just raises a mind-bending question, right? Why on earth would an ancient logical system do this? According to the Python code, which is just translating the BPHS directly, there are other rejection classifications like Pakshi for birds and even Stavara for plants or inanimate objects. Now, this isn't about predicting what someone will be like, it's a deeply embedded set of logical purity tests. The system is basically saying that for a horoscope to even be considered a valid human chart, it has to conform to a very specific set of mathematical and geometric criteria that were laid out thousands of years ago. It's a glimpse into an alien, yet rigorously structured form of logic.
So where does this incredible journey leave us? Let's just take a breath for a second. We followed this thread from an ancient verse etched on a palm leaf. Through its translation into pseudocode, we've watched it become an executable Python script running on a server, and we've even seen it used to debug the very timestamp of a human life. So what does it all actually mean?
Let's just summarize the key takeaways, because they are massive. First, we've seen, without a doubt, that a 7,000-year-old text contains a system of logic that is demonstrably algorithmic. Second, its Sanskrit verses can be and have been structured as if-then-else statements. Third, this ancient logic is so precise that it can be translated directly into a modern programming language like Python. And finally, and this might be the most important point of all, the marvel here isn't necessarily whether the predictions are true or not. The real marvel is the incredible survival and the resilience of the system itself, a complex, internally consistent logical framework that has traveled across millennia to find a new life as code.
And that just leaves us with one final profound question. For the very first time in history, this ancient oracle is running at scale on modern hardware. We have the code, it is online, it is executing the logic of the ancient sages. The ultimate question is no longer how it works, but what this system, this ancient mirror to the cosmos, actually tells us about ourselves.